Hi guys, we're going to give this a try. Welcome to my YouTube. Today I'm going to build a brand new Mayako 8-scale e-buggy. Those of you that know me know that I have been running the prototype since Mayako put the first one out. This buggy now is approximately about 1.5 years old. It's been a very good car. Had very few problems out of it. Mostly center support stuff, center diff leaking. I think that's my major issues. Main battles I've had has been with electronics, not with the car itself. Car's been very solid. It was a huge change up from my Losi that I had. I had an XC Elite. Immediately building this car, I was putting in about 2-second faster lap times. So I'm hoping with the refresh to the actual production buggy to pick up a little bit more time, but we shall see. Inside my prototype buggy here, I'm running a Macklin 8-scale ESC, and I'm running a Hobbywing XE Run 1900 kV buggy motor. That is a 4268 can size, so it's definitely a buggy motor, not a truggy motor. Running a Nitro Pro servo. I had some issues with Nitro Pro when I first started using them. It seems like they've gotten most of their stuff straight. This servo's been in this car for over a year. No issues. This car, as you can see, is set up with
motion detected
upper arms instead of the camber links. The new production buggy is going to be all camber links. So I'm going to be going from an upper arm setup to a camber link setup on the new buggy. I'm going to take you all along. I'm going to build it. I'm going to show you all how I go through things. I'm not the fastest racer in the world, but I can hold my own. So I've built a few different cars. So I've kind of figured out a couple little works to make things easy and make things work the way they should. If y'all see the video stop at certain times, it's because I went to go take a break, use a restroom, whatever. But I'll take y'all along. This video is going to be long. I'll probably break it up into several parts so I can upload it to my YouTube. And hope you guys enjoy the build. So I'm going to take this off the desk now. I'm going to bring in the Mayako buggy. We're going to sort of do a little bit of an unboxing. I've already had the box open because we made some measurements to the chassis versus a prototype buggy, because we were wanting to know if we could take a prototype chassis and build it up with the new parts from the production buggy and make one. So here's our Mayako chassis. This is the production buggy one that came out of the box. Took it out of the package so we could take some measurements between mounting holes and stuff like that. So they're always pretty when they're brand new. First time on the track they get scratched up. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm sure my build is not going to start with my chassis. You guys will notice as I build the car, I have some extra parts. I like some colored options on my car. So I have ordered some neon yellow parts that Mayako offers to change stuff into the neon yellow. That's what I run on my car now, and that's what I'm going to run on my new car. So here's Mayako. This is the regional kit available in the USA. Let's see if I can get that in there. Right there. Yep. The A-Scale E-Buggy regional kit. We've got a lot of lights in here, so it's going to be hard to get some shiny stuff on here properly. And this is bright. I know the color's washed out. Alright, we're going to open this thing up. Alright, you open the box. First thing on top, they've got all the parts tucked into the body. This is the Mayako body. They've got a multi-use body, which is also used on their Nitro car. So when we do the E-Buggy, we will not cut out this section here, which is for the Nitro. But I may even do a video on how I do my painting also. I'm going to try to replicate this body, which I did myself. It's got some flaws and stuff in it, but I love it. It's kind of a design all of my own. So now, I'm going to set this aside. Next thing I see when I look in the box is this is a wing insert that we cut out. It's made out of Lexan, like the same stuff as the body. I really like to run these on my wings. I enjoyed it on my prototype. The issue that I have is that everybody tells me that my car sounds crunchy. Reason being is the wings are flexible. This is more rigid, and the edges where it sits down inside the wing make a rattling and kind of crunchy noise as it's going around the track going over bumps. So people always tell me my car sounds broken. So I quit running these because I quit answering the questions of why my car sounds that way. Haven't had that statement made to me again since I stopped running them. But we'll see with this car, with the tuning. If I can get it to tune without it, we'll go with it. If not, if I can't get the same mechanical grip I was able to force out of my other car, then I may go back into this until I can get it figured out. But, yep. I normally don't paint those. I normally leave them clear. Okay, we're going to start digging in. See, all of our bags are labeled. Let me get this out of the washout of the lights here. Get this light out of the way here. That may help. There we go. So this is the option bag. Here's bag K. There again. You'll see that this has the black side skirts in it. Mayako has options for different colored parts. Here is my Mayako yellow side skirts. These are the ones that will be installed on the car. And like I said, it's a Mayako part. They were real smart when they did these. So the part number on these parts for the side skirts are all the MYB0004, and then it's a dash, and then the YEL is for the yellow. So the different colors will have that different little code at the end. Now all these parts are available on AMain now, and you can also buy them at Mayako.com. If you're in the US, make sure you select the store in the USA, and you get stuff shipped pretty quick. It doesn't take long to get stuff out of the factory. The US distribution, they're really, really, really good and quick. They normally fill an order within 24 hours during the week, and they have it shipped out. So we got bag D. This one looks like it is plastic pieces. Looks like this is front end parts. Alright, next thing I see here is another Lexan piece. This is another insert that goes inside the wing. So there's two different pieces. This one goes inside the other one. These are uprights. I like running those also. Alright, next thing in the bag I see is OPA2. These are going to be our springs, and also our sway bar links. These are the brown springs. On my other car, I was running blacks on the front and progressive grays on the rear. So what I did when I ordered parts for the car, there again, my optional stuff after, I have my progressive grays that I'm going to run. Still getting a washout real bad on the screen. I'm trying, guys. Progressive gray springs. These felt really, really good on my buggy. And I'm going to go back with the same setup, basically, that I had on my other buggy, and then I will tune from there. I don't think there's going to be a huge difference between the upper arms and the camber links, or a huge weight in the buggy difference, so we shall see. We shall see. I like to do the tuning and the tinkering, so we'll see how all that works out. All right, bag OPD3. This looks like my hubs, all my hub stuff. All right, we got bag C. Bag C is front arms. This is my A and B blocks, my diff case, hinge pins, looks like my pinion gear for the front diff and the bearings. Next bag I'm pulling out here is bag F. This is going to be my rear arms, rear diff case, rear pinion, and my C and D blocks and some pills. Alright, bag N. This is going to be my center diff brace and my upper battery brace. If you saw my car earlier, I had painted all this stuff neon yellow, and I'll probably do that again with this one. I like the way it turned out. All you gotta do is just tape over it, take a razor blade, cut it out, and then spray it in. Alright, bag I. This is some more of the center diff brace, motor mount, and carbon fiber battery bracket, and carbon fiber ESC mount. And bag J. This would be the belt crank. These are all my belt crank pieces. Bag O. This looks like the optional bag. This is going to have my spacers for my front and rear diff. Yes, this car is adjustable. I can raise and lower my diffs. This also has different shock inserts for the arms. Inserts to raise and lower my towers. And yes, the towers are, you can raise and lower the towers separately from the diff. And we'll get into that as we do the build. This is some of the very optional stuff that Mayako offers that I haven't really seen in any other brands. But I'll be honest, I don't really get down and dirty with stuff I'm not racing with. So it's possible some other brands may have started using this stuff. Bag G. Bag G is a wing mount. That's a diff case cover, some sway bar mounts. Bag OPD1. These are our pistons. Now, when you see me build mine, these pistons will not go in my new shocks. I've got some VRP pistons that are in my car I've been using. I'm going to remove those out of those shocks, clean them up, and we're going to install those in the new pistons. So, thumbs up VRP. I'm very, very impressed with your pistons. Get with me later on if you got questions. I can tell you what model kit that I'm using inside my shocks. We got bag L. Bag L looks like my my steering rod, adjustable steering rods, some spacers, steering rod ends, and some mounting screws and stuff for all that stuff. Ooh, that's a heavy little bag. Alright, bag B. That looks like that's got all the diff stuff in it. So there's my diff cases, my gears, sun gear, and all that stuff for my front, rear, and middle diff. So that's all three. All three in one bag. How about that? That's my bag right there. I like that bag. Y'all are going to enjoy when we do that one. Some of you guys, your jaw is going to drop when y'all see what we do with that. Bag E. Bag E are CVDs, some crush washers, which you guys will see what that's all about too, and carbon fiber Ackerman plates. Alright, now we're going to go bag M. Bag M is front and rear center supports and our servo mount and the ends to put all that stuff together. And bag H. Bag H has my rear hubs, bearings, all the stuff to put that together, the hexes, and we've got universals for the back of the car. That's also the way my other car is set up, so that'll work out pretty good. And then we got bag A, of course. We haven't seen them yet. Here's all my shock stuff. All my shock bodies, seals, everything. And any of you guys have never done a kit before, this is what a kit's all about. This is not a buy it, take it out of the box, throw a battery car. This is a race car. This is, you do it all yourself. Put what fluid you want in it. You do all your setup yourself. If something's messed up, you can only blame yourself. Alright, and then we got this bag here, which is our sticker sheets. Looks like it's got 2 sets of sticker sheets. And then our tape off for the windows on the body when we paint that. So we got some pretty cool stickers with these cars. I really like the ones that JQ selected for it. He had the one thing I do notice though, that sticker says this is a prototype. I enjoyed that when I was running my prototype, but now this one's not going to be a prototype. I can't put the sticker on this car. But I do have it on the lid of that car. Warning, this is a prototype. But can't advertise it as a prototype if it's not a prototype. Alright guys, now that was it other than a piece of paper on the bottom. So you'll notice there's no instruction manual with these things. So what we have here is we have a piece of paper with a QR code on it. This QR code will take you to my Mayako. What it is the latest manual, latest setup sheets, recommended base setup for the regional kits, and setup ranges for common adjustments. Keep in mind this car was designed by JQ, Joseph Quagmire, who also had the JQ car that was around for a long time. Some people think he's a jerk. He's not as bad as what people say he is, or what's passed around that he is, and he is a superb engineer. I also recommend for those of you guys that don't want to run a Mayako, but y'all want to figure out how to do your setups, pick up his book. Go over to BeachRC, beachrc.com, and buy his book. It's called Invisible Speed 2.0. I promise it's worth the money you pay for that book. I think the new book is $80. But it is a very good book, and from what I understand, it's got nice thick color pages and everything in there. And it's supposed to be added information from the first book, and the first book was absolutely fantastic, and I've got it. I haven't ordered the next book yet. It's going to be in one of my next orders from Beach. I haven't ordered anything from Beach for a little while, so my next order from Beach, I'll add that in there. Now, Mayako community also has a Discord server page and a Mayako wiki, and all that's available through their My Mayako stuff. They also go through the specs of the kit. Okay, so what you get when you order this kit is it'll have 5 by 1.5 pistons that came with it, medium grip brown springs, and 2.3 and 2.5 roll bars. Your KPI, which is your kingpin inclination, is a 1, and your caster is a 1. It runs upper links and a black wing, and that's what they say here. So that's what's on this paper. So to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my computer here, which is just off screen. And I'm going to go to go.mayako.com/select-kit. Mistype something here. Let me see how. There it goes. If you type that in, don't make it all caps because the website don't like it. Make it lowercase. Alright, so I'm going to select my kit. So, here, I'll take this down so you can see. Alright, so when you go to the website, you got different kits here that they've got a build sheet for. So select your kit. So we got MX8-2024 General, MX8E-2024R, which is the one I have, the MX8-2024R Regional, which is off the shelf, and then MX8-2022, which is the original Nitro, which the 2024 is the updated kit. So that's what I'm going to select. This is mine. Alright. So I'm going to select the manual because that's what we're going to do, is we're going to build it. Cool. So they've got the whole thing here. The whole build thing is online, no wasted paper. So, alright, I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to put you guys back up so y'all can see the tabletop again. And there we go. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my web page here. Go full screen. Alright, looks like we will start off with a shot build. You know what, let me select this thing and let me see if I can share the screen with my computer. Let me see here. Woo! That went crazy, didn't it? Alright, source number 2. Nope, not that one. That's my other display. Here we go. Alright, now let me minimize this out of the way. You're getting a full thing here. Actually, let me take this and move it to the other screen. Alright, now let me do this. Cool. Alright, so now we've got a screen and screen here. We've got my desktop, and you can see what I'm doing on the computer. So, first thing we're going to do is the shock build. So, my bag of shocks, bam, right there. Take this bad boy, and we're going to open up our shocks. We've got our standard shock stuff here. This is all the screws and ends and nuts and everything to mount it to the car. We got our front shocks and our rear shocks. So what I'm going to do now is, since we're starting with the shocks, I need to remove the pistons from the shocks on my other car. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to take a break. I'll come back in. I'm going to break my other shocks down. I'm going to get the pistons out, get them cleaned up and ready to go. And then we'll continue on with the video, and we'll build some brand new shocks. So I don't want to bore y'all with taking my old shocks, the old dirty things apart, and pick on me about my dirty shock oil because it's got a couple of runs on it. So I'm going to pause now, and I'll be back faster than you can believe. Alright guys, I'm back. So, I'm sure you didn't miss me. It was only a split second for you guys. It was about 30 minutes for me. Alright, now we're going to go on into the shock build. I've already got my pistons taken out and cleaned from my other buggy. So we're going to reuse those. Now there again, these are VRP pistons. These are not the pistons that came with the kit. On mine, I've got the red washer and the black one. The black ones will go on my rear shocks. The red ones will go on my front shocks. The red ones they stiffen the rebound, and we want that a little stiffer in the front end, you know, as always, like when you add your shock oil and when you do your springs, it's always a little stiffer in the front, softer in the rear. So it'll allow the rebound to operate a little bit better this way. So here we go. Let's get this build going. I'm excited. So I went ahead and looked at this a little while ago. I do things a little bit differently to what they're going to show in the instruction manual. You're fine to do it the way the instruction manual says, but I take an extra step with the bleeding of the shocks. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So it says up at the top of the screen, we're going to start with the front shock here. Let me go ahead and get my baggie open. Now you'll notice on the screen that they go through and they tell you to lubricate your O-rings and lightly lubricate the shaft. We all know lightly lubricating the shaft helps out a lot. So yes, we will do that. Lubricating the rings, I'm just going to use the standard shock oil to lubricate them. Not doing anything fancy, not doing anything special. They do make a O-ring lubricant that's out there. I think it's called green slime. Supposedly that's the best stuff on the market. I've never bought it, never used it. My shocks have always gone together and worked fine doing it the way I do it. So, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Sometimes there are better ways to do things, and I just take them one step at a time. I don't try all new things every time I do one. I just do each kind of thing one step at a time. Alright, now in this kit, you're going to see we've got 2 short shock ends, 2 long shock ends. When I bought the prototype, it came with short ends. The issue I had with the short ends when I first built my first buggy was I like to pull the shock shaft out because I run droop. So, with that being the case, I'm going to be going with the long ends. That gives me a couple millimeters extra reach on the shaft to where the piston doesn't fully pull to the bottom of the shock when you're running droop. It allows the suspension system, the arms and stuff, to stop the downward travel without using the shock shaft, that little tiny screw with the shock shaft and the plastic on it. Whoa. Alright, first things first, they've got the shocks screwed together with nothing in them, so I'm going to take these apart. Shocks are always so nice before they get dirt stuck in all the threads and all the little creases and crevices that seem almost impossible to clean them out sometimes. Alright, so now you guys can't see all the little O-rings on the white paper towel. I'm having a hard time seeing them, and I'm sitting right here. So basically what I'm going to do is I've got all my O-rings in one place here. So my front shocks, I'm going to be using 35 weight. I'm not sure what the CST is on that, but I'm using 35 on mine. I'll continue to use 35 till the weather warms up some more. Right now it's April. We still got a little bit of time before the heat rolls in, and I'm going to have to go a little bit heavier on my oils. So now in here we've got spacer 1, spacer 2, O-ring 1, O-ring 2, O-ring 1, O-ring 2. They sent me extra O-ring. Yay! I like extra parts. And then we've got our alignment spacers that go at the bottom of the lower shock cap. So, looking at my computer screen, it shows us, you see, yes, you can see my pointer. Right behind my split screen, right here, it says check O-ring and spacer position. Here, let me do this. Let me go to, let me put y'all on the screen. Okay, yes. So right here we have check O-ring and spacer position. There's an O-ring, a spacer, and an O-ring, and then we've got our alignment spacer that goes right inside the cap right here. Make sure that you put it that direction. If you do not, you're going to have issues with premature wear on the shock shaft. You can run a higher risk of bending the shock shaft, and it will wear all this stuff out a lot faster. These things do get side-to-side motion a lot, and if they're not in the right place, then it allows that shaft to do stuff it's not supposed to do. You can end up damaging this lower shock cap. So, we don't lubricate our black ring that goes around our lower shock cap. We do lubricate all this stuff here. We do lubricate the shock shaft itself before we put it all together. That allows all this to be lubricated very well, so when you put it together, you don't have dry metal on dry rubber. Put it on the track, and before any can seep in there, it wears everything out, and then you're in a mess. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put you back on the screen here. How about that? Matter of fact, I'm going to swap. So we'll move this around a little bit so y'all can see a little bit better. Go that direction. Cool. All right. So messing with oil, so of course everything's on a paper towel, and the same paper towel I used to clean my my pistons up. So I didn't lubricate the shafts yet, so let me do that. Just putting a dab of oil on it and rolling it around. Now I'm being careful not to get any oil on the threads on either end of these shafts. Reason being is, you'll see in a second, when I put the pistons on, I do not want to have any lubrication on those threads because I will put a dab of Loctite, blue Loctite, this stuff here, on the threads. So the run a lower risk of the nut coming off when that shock's going up and down rapidly while you're going over a little lumpy track. Okay, so let's start with this. So we've got our shock body. We're going to stand it upright, both of them. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put an O-ring in, a spacer in, an O-ring in, and then we've got our alignment spacer. Now our alignment spacer has a flange on top, and that's what goes into the cap and lines it up with the hole in the bottom of the lower cap. So now that's put together correctly. We're going to take, well, actually, before I put that piece on, let me put this little O-ring, little tiny black O-ring goes around the bottom threads all the way to the top. Just be careful, don't damage it. You kind of just want to roll it up the threads all the way to the top. Alright, let me make sure we put that centering spacer back on there. And then we're going to put this lower cap on. Alright, hand tight. Don't crank it. Alright, so now we've got lower shock cap, our spacer poking through the hole there. So that shock body's ready. So now let's do the other one. Sent David Smith a message earlier. He's responding to me about the VRP stuff. I forgot which one on which. I took the shocks out, forgot that I had different color ones front and rear, and cleaned them, and when I flipped them over I was like, oh, wait a minute. But that's okay. I got it straight once I thought about it. Alright, now put this one together with the spacer on the bottom. We got our lower shock cap. Already got the O-ring on there. Then we tighten this up. There again. Snug finger tight. Don't use any tools on that. You don't want to damage anything, and it doesn't need it. Okay. Shock body 1, shock body 2, front shocks completed. So now, before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my spring adjustments and the O-ring. O-ring just pops inside of a little channel inside there. Now I've still got a little bit of oil on my finger. Not enough to really lubricate it a lot, but just enough to put a little film on there. So we're going to take this piece. We're going to take the shock, and the piece with the smooth section is going to be where your spring is. So we're going to put it on like this, and we're going to run it up. Takes a little bit of time, but I'm going to run it almost all the way to the top. This is how you set your ride height and spring tension on your car. Alright, almost all the way to the top. I don't like to run it all the way up. The spring's not going to go that high anyhow. It just saved me from having to unscrew it a good bit more when I go to put it together. Alright, I'm putting the other O-ring inside. Just kind of pops in there. It's not very hard to do. Alright, I still got a little film on my finger. I'm putting it on there. It just makes it where the O-ring doesn't stick as much to the shock body when you're putting it together. Alright, now we got that one on there. Run it up. Sorry, this is boring. We'll do this 2 more times with the long back shocks, and then luckily the threads aren't that much longer on the back shock, so we don't really have to worry about it. Okay, now we're down to our shock shafts and assembling our shock shaft stuff. So these are the fronts. So we're going to have the red inserts. Sure you can see that on camera. So they're already pre-assembled, so I'm not going to go through the assembly on these. They come with directions when you buy them, what to do to put them together. So I'm going to pick up my first shock shaft. The small threads at the top, of course, no oil on them. They're going to go through the washer. They're going to go through the piston. Well, the washer on top popped off. That's okay. Let me get that line back up. And it's going to be the same with your stock pistons. You're going to put it together according to directions. There should be a washer on top. Or no, washer on bottom on these. No washer on top. It's just a nut. But this has an aluminum piece on top that I put on there. So we've got a nut. We've got our thread locker. So what I do is I put just a dab of thread locker, just a touch. Right on the top edge of the threads. And I've got my 5mm nut driver here. See if I can do it without pushing the nut too far. Alright, so we're just going to put this on here. See if it'll start without the... Nope. Tell you what. Just start it by hand. Start with the other one. I'll get that out of there in a minute. I got a pick I can get it out with. Alright, so we're going to start that by hand. Now, here's a very handy tool. This is a shock tool. It's got a part on here for shock shafts right here. Grips these shock shafts really good without damaging them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, squeeze it. Then I'm going to take my nut driver, snug it up really, really good. Not enough to break it, but enough to make it really tight. Now, that's done. Shaft it and spin in the tool. There's no marring, there's no chips or anything out of that. So if you use a pair of pliers, what's going to happen is if it turns, it's going to roll some metal back and it'll end up slicing your shock seals. And we don't want that. Let's see if that nut will come out of there. Let me pick it out. So you're going to be really careful with that. If you don't have the shock tool. That gets really expensive really fast if you got to replace your shock shafts immediately. And then have to redo your seals. Alright, just a little dab of blue Loctite on there. Again, start it by hand. I used the second grabber inside there, which is a 3.5 millimeter. Just take the nut driver, squeeze them pliers, and then tighten it up. Try not to let the shaft spin on the tool. If you have any dirt on there whatsoever, it'll chew into it like we don't want. Okay, so now we've got our two shock bodies. We've got our two shock shafts with the piston on them. Now we get to start putting it together. So we're going to start shock body, shock piston with the shaft. We're going to find the hole in the middle. We're going to push it through nice and easy. Don't jam it through there in case something's not right. You don't want to tear something up. Just nice and smooth. Now when you put it together, it should feel no grinding. It should be very, very, very smooth. Alright, we got one. Then we're going to do the other. Same thing. Find the hole, put it in there, work it through the threads, nice and smooth. Beautiful. Always like the feel of a new shock. They feel so smooth. Okay, now we're not going to use these washers, so we're not going to use that O-ring there. That was an extra O-ring and didn't need the washers with these pistons I put in there. So up next, we've got our sleeves. These are boot sleeves. And it does say on the screen, where is it at? Oh, they don't even tell you to put the boots on yet. Yeah, they tell you to put the boots on way down the thing. So before you put your ends on your shock shafts, regardless of what the instructions say, put your boots on. So your boot's going to be a little long, so you want to hold it to the side, the front ones. The rear ones will be fine. So they say in the instructions you're going to cut about 5 millimeters off. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to go ahead and work it over the lower nut. Get it into place. I'm going to pull up on my shock shaft and squeeze right here. And I'm going to hold it in place. I'm going to find it just about the tops of those threads, and I'm going to just squeeze my scissors on there so I know where I'm going at. I'm going to pull the boot back off. They're always hard to get back off when they're new. So then I've got a nice neat little mark there where I had the scissors. And that's right where I'm going to cut it. Boop. So the next one, I'm going to cut it same place. Now we got two boots same size. So now we're going to put them back on. And it's going to allow my boot to push down on the end when I put it on there just a little bit. And I'll put this one on. Alright. So now we got two boots. Just like that. So, next thing we're doing is we're putting the long ends on. So, same thing as you don't want to damage anything. You're going to pull the boot up, expose the shaft. You're going to take your tool, grab it on the same spot as where you grabbed it earlier, or on the same notch as you did earlier when we were putting the piston on. So now you're going to take your shock shaft end, and you're going to kind of push and twist to get it started. There's not threads already in these things, so you got to kind of make the threads. And those new ones are a booger. So here's a little trick. Body reamer. Take a body reamer and just trim a little hair off the opening. That'll give your threads a little bit better chance at starting to bite. But don't take too much off, because then you'll weaken it. So you started right. It's on there now. So we'll run this bad boy up until it stops. Alright, there it is. It's bottomed out. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other side. See if this one will start. If not, I'll ream it. Oh, not to ream that one. There's a little sliver off the end there, and then we'll get it on there. And by the way, guys, this video is going to end at the end of the shocks. Once I get the shocks built, we'll go on into the diff in the next video. I think diffs are going to be next, so we'll go into those next. As a matter of fact, the rear shocks are going to be exactly identical to these, except for cutting the boots. Everything else is going to be identical. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably end the video after I'm done with the front shocks. That way I don't have to bore y'all with all the screwing down of stuff to get all the other stuff put together. That way we can move along. Alright, so now a lot of the other brands are a little different, but Mayako actually has a little bit larger hole in the end of the shock end on one side, make it easier to put the balls in. So neat little shock tool, set the ball on top of that larger end, and my shock tool has a pin on it. I don't know if you can see that, there's a pin on there. Pin goes down onto the ball, the open end goes over the plastic, and you squeeze and there'll be a pop. Alright, shock end ball is in there. You're not damaging the ends by using a pair of pliers or anything like that. So it's this nice, smooth, nice little pop. You're going to get that good with some light. There you go. Pop, just like that. Nice and easy. Squeeze it just hard enough to pop in. Don't squeeze it so hard that you shove it through the other side. Alright, now back to the instructions. Alright, now we're going to do our shock ring caps, and we're going to do our silicone oil. Now, they have recommendations. All their stuff is in CST. You use what shock oil feels best to you for your setup. Because I run a different, firmer shock spring than what they recommend. Actually, I think mine are softer. Well, anyhow, I use a little bit softer oil right now, and when summertime comes in, I'll go to a little bit thicker oil, which of course when it warms up, it thins out some. So, .40 weight, this is factory team oil. It's made by Lucas Oil. This AE oil. No, these aren't Lucas Oil. I thought they were Lucas Oil. No, these are AE. So these are AE factory team silicone shock oil. The silicone oil holds up a little bit better than the old style oils, and it doesn't thin as much in warmth. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our shock caps. Nice little pretty things here. We got these boots. So these boots have a lip on them. And the lip is going to face down towards the shock body. So we're going to take these little boogers and we're going to squeeze them in here little by little by little. until we get it all the way in there. You can tell it's all the way in there because it'll be round. We'll do the same thing with this one. Work it in there, get it down into place. Kind of almost makes a pop when it goes in place. Alright, so now I've got both of my shock seals in place. Okay, before I go too much further, I'm going to make sure I got my screws in place. I'm going to make sure I got the appropriate size 1.5 here. Yes, I do. Okay. So these are our bleeder caps, which go in the little holes right here on top. Alright, did I bring a shock stand? No, I did not. So, I get to hold these things when I'm putting them together. Alright, so, we're going to take our 40 weight shock. What I do is I squeeze shock oil in here about 3/4 of the way up, nice and smooth. Try to keep from getting too many air bubbles in there. And I'm going to slowly work this shock up and down a few times until I quit seeing bubbles. Don't let the piston come up out of the shock oil. Keep it submerged in the shock oil. Twist it back and forth. Let the little holes in the piston grab any air bubbles that are there and push them up. The appropriate way to do this is to have a shock stand and have it sitting in a shock stand for about a half hour and let any bubbles work out of there. But like I said, I just grabbed a bunch of stuff. I didn't even bring a car stand with shock holder or anything with me when I came home to do this. I normally do all this on my trailer. I don't look like I got many bubbles in there at all anyhow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it all the way up to the top until it's a bubble. Looks like it's going to overflow, but there's surface tension on the top. It'll just, a nice little hump on top. I'm going to take shock cap, hold the shock nice and even. I'm going to hand tighten this bad boy down on here. I'm going to hold the shock body and I'm going to twist and twist and twist until it feel it bottom out. Okay, now it's bottomed out. So I'm going to lean the shock back with a bleeder hole in top. Let me get my screw ready to go. So let me get a paper towel right quick because I know there's going to be some coming out of there. Okay, so I normally make a little blanket down here at the end and I squeeze the shock up with the bleeder hole about 45-degree angle up. Hold the shock fully compressed. I've got my pinky underneath it. Now we're going to take our screw with our other hand. If you can't do it by yourself, get a friend to help. And we're going to get a screw started in there and we're going to run it down. And this is where things differ from the way I do things and what they show in the instructions. They tell you how to bleed your shocks. That's how they tell you to do it. But there's an extra little trick here that'll help. So this is building an emulsion shock. Emulsion shock is going to have some air bubbles in it, believe it or not. You could try to bleed it all out, and it's kind of tough. So something I do to make a negative rebound shock, or not a negative rebound shock, but a zero rebound shock. Because the way this is, you pull it out. Oh, it's not going to do it, but a lot of times you do that and it'll pull the shock back in because the shock shaft is pulling out of the shock body and it creates a vacuum, and a lot of times it'll pull it back in. Does it more with the rear shocks because there's more capacity there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump my shock up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to hold the shock shut. We'll put me a paper towel underneath it in case some fluid comes out. I'm going to take the screw out. All the way out the hole, off to the side. Pumping the shock up basically warms it up a little bit and it pressurizes some. And then when you take that bleeder cap off, it allows any of that pressure to escape. So now we've got a true negative shock. Pull it out, nothing happens. Push it in, nothing happens other than the boot pushing out on it. But that's just the way that goes. So you want to tighten these screws up. Just snug. You don't have to go too awfully crazy with it. So you don't have to sit here and watch me do this other shock. I'm going to go ahead and finish building this one shock, and then I'll stop the video. I'll get all my other shocks put together, and then before I go into the diffs, I'll get the video started again, and we'll move after that. So, or if I see another step to these things in the instructions, I'll look before we end this video, just see if there's anything else we have to do, but I don't think so. I think this is going to be it before we move on to the diffs and stuff. So we've got our shock. Now, like I said, I use an option spring. I don't use the spring that comes with the kit. These are the Mayako springs, the black springs. They're 65 millimeter 8.5s. Nice, shiny, brand new out of the package. So we're going to take our spring. We're going to put our spring all the way over, like so, all the way up to our little flange right here on our shock nut. Now, the way I normally do this is I grab the spring between my fingers and I pull it up, and I use the tips of my fingers to pull the boot up, the shock boot. So you got everything pulled up away from the end. Now we got our cap, which we can pop in over our shaft and down onto the shock end, like so. And then we just kind of let our fingers get out of the way and let everything go back together. So now we've got an assembled shock. Shock in, spring cap, spring, our boots inside there, our shock body, and our spring adjustment, right height adjustment nut. We've got our screw in the cap. Our cap is on, our shock is bled, and boy oh boy is that thing smooth. Smooth as glass. Always really good when they're brand new. Alright, so let's look down the pages right quick before I go on and say that we're doing diffs next. So I'll do all this shock stuff and then we go into diff build. So yes, so I will finish these shocks up. I'll end this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see so far, stick around for the next thing, which is going to be the diff build. And we'll go into building the diffs. I'll even go into what fluids I use in my diffs because it's not what's recommended and it's not what you hear around the track of what people are using. You'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and end this, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like, share, follow, you know, all that jazz that they say on these YouTube videos. Let's do the diffs next, guys. Talk to you in a little bit.